What is up, everybody? How are you doing today? Happy Friday. Welcome to the Fantasy Tap. My name's Michael. This is John. John, how are you doing over there?
Doing pretty good. You know, lost a couple bets. Thought the Bengals were going to be able to pull this one off. Yeah, the Thursday night game just ended, and Joe Burrow was almost able to pull it off.
Looked good. I actually had a little parlay on him and a couple other underdogs this week, but didn't pan out. So hopefully something else does.
Yeah, we'll have to figure it out later this week.
Yeah, but welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. We are very excited to have you today. We have a great show. We've got our Thursday night recap, as well as our must-starts and must-sits of the week. Ready to get into that.
Are you?
I am.
Super excited for him.
But, John, you want to remind them about our giveaway?
Yeah, so we do have a Kenny Golladay signed jersey that we are going to be giving away on our Twitter and Instagram. So make sure you guys are following us there and as well as liking our post. Don't think we had a chance to post the requirements to win it yet.
No, we will be getting that out this weekend.
Okay, just want to make sure. So we will be getting that out there this weekend, so make sure you guys look out for that. And as soon as we get it here on set, we will make sure to show you guys what it looks like and how beautiful it is.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's going to be gorgeous. It's going to be gorgeous. But anyways, before we get into our show today, let's talk about the beer of the day. And that is the Miami Pale Ale by Biscayne Brewing Company out of Miami, Florida.
Yeah.
Florida. So far, it's pretty good. Kind of bitter.
Yeah, it's kind of bitter. It's really hoppy. Doesn't really have any bite to it.
Yeah, it is quite hoppy. Quite.
I like it, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's not too bad.
Yeah, but anyways, before we jump into our Thursday night recap, John, you want to jump into the news?
Yeah. So first thing coming out of Pittsburgh, we have Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster, as well as James Conner all returning to practice as full participants today or Thursday.
Yay.
So good to see on some of them. Questionable for one of them, in my opinion. You still gonna play Deontay or Juju, knowing that they just came off of some nicks and bruises? And
I'm definitely, I would be confident. You know, Deontay got those, the 10 targets last week, and Juju had a solid showing last week as well. So, yeah, I definitely am going to be playing them this week. I also think that, like I said in yesterday's episode, I think that it was more of a precautionary. You know, Deontay did have that toe injury last week, and I feel like it was kind of just maybe a day off. Even though he is limited, they don't want to rush him back into it because he was getting the targets, and they do want to use him in that offense. He also has a pretty good matchup this week against the Broncos, and so does Juju. So yeah, I would play him definitely.
Absolutely. What about James Conner?
James Conner, no. I am not playing James Conner at all.
We'll talk about it later.
Are you playing Benny Snell?
I would play Benny Snell over James Conner.
Mike Tomlin did say he might play this week, James Conner.
I'd played, but how long?
Exactly, that's the question. And I don't want to find out that answer, especially if he's on my team. So I am fading James Conner this week.
Interesting. But moving on from Pittsburgh, we're going to move over to Tennessee. Corey Davis returned in a limited fashion, while A.J. Brown was nowhere to be seen. He's being reported to have a bone bruise. So he is questionable for this week. Still has an injury designation. You'll probably see that go into the weekend, so make sure you're looking out before Sunday happens. Check in on our live stream on Sunday before the games so you can see what the latest news and whether or not you want to put him in your lineup.
Yeah, John's not going to be here this Sunday, sad, though.
Oh, yeah, sorry, guys.
Sad. But I will be here, which is dope. So he has a pretty favorable matchup, too, this week against Jags.
Yeah, so I'm someone who, if I was able to pick up Corey Davis off the waivers, because he was someone who was going rather quickly. So if I got him, he could definitely be someone I'm happy to flex in, especially if you have A.J. Brown out. Corey Davis was able to find relevancy for one of the first times since his draft night. So maybe that's the way they're going to be going.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And if AJ Brown doesn't play, then Corey Davis definitely shoots up
a little bit.
Yeah. So, anyway, moving on. George Kittle did sit out again Thursday with the knee injury. He's still possible to play. Are you taking that risk?
No.
Even though you drafted him in the second round, John?
Yeah, no. Even though I drafted him in the second round, I still need him to play throughout a game. If he hasn't practiced up to now, I just think that it's something that even if he does play, it's going to be in a limited fashion. They do have tight end depth, even though it's not the same tier of talent. I just don't think – I think they're going to save him for later through the season and try to get him healthy and save him for that postseason push rather than waste him away early in the season.
Yeah, get him healed up. And they're playing the Jets this week, so I don't think they're going to rush him back. So
yeah, they aren't going to hopefully need him.
Yeah, I don't think they will.
Upset of the week.
They can just potentially, but because they are missing the DBs too. A couple of players on that defense as well, so you never know. Put some money on it. Don't say we told you to, though, because we don't want to take that responsibility. Moving on, Cortland Sutton. He was limited again on Thursday. Will likely carry an injury designation leading into the weekend, so I'm staying away from him. He's got a very tough matchup either way. The Steelers' defense. It's not going to be good.
I mean, absolutely. That's obviously we saw that Daniel Jones and Darius Slayton were able to be relevant again, playing against that Steelers defense. Drew Lock did find some confidence in Jerry Jeudy last week with Cortland Sutton out, but it did seem like he was more focused on Noah Fant. And personally, those deep balls from Drew Lock did not look very good. So with this news of Cortland Sutton being out last week with that information, I did play Jerry Jeudy as a flex player in one of my leagues. I'm actually not going to be doing that this weekend.
Good call.
But if you have to do it, I think there is upside seeing that the Steelers defense was able to allow a lot of passing yards, which we'll be talking about later. So could be an interesting play at a super need and necessity.
Yeah, definitely. Could be. Just not pretty, though, in my opinion. But, so anyways, Ayuk, he does not have a injury designation now. Brandon Ayuk out of San Francisco. So he should be a full go for week 2, which is great for Jimmy Garoppolo. He needs all the help he can get, especially if Kittle's out.
Yeah. I mean, last weekend with Kendrick Bourne there and Trent Taylor being some of the only receivers along with Dante Pettis, you're not really looking at a lot of targets going to them. But with Kittle out, maybe there is an uptick on the receivers getting the ball. Maybe you'll see Brandon Ayuk forcing the offense to throw the ball more, being that he is a more talented receiver than what they had on the field. So I think it's nice to see, but I'm really curious on what they do with him.
Yep, definitely. Going to be interesting. John Brown returned to practice in full. Good news for him. Good news for Stephon Diggs as well, I think. Kind of take a little bit of that pressure off of him. Byron Jones and Xavier Howard and that Dolphins secondary in pass rush has turned it around, So they, even though it was Cam and he doesn't have, the best weapons, but they weren't able to do much against the Dolphins secondary and pass defense. So good news for them to get him back. Brandon Cooks did remain limited in practice yesterday as well. So keep an eye out for that. Are you playing Brandon Cooks this week against the Ravens?
No, I'm going to be fading away from most of the Houston offense just due to the fact that they're playing the Ravens, and we saw what they did to Cleveland.
Yeah, didn't look pretty, especially that offensive line, man. And we'll talk about it later. Yeah.
We're going to have to.
Yep. Kenny G, breaking my heart, didn't practice again Thursday. We'll see if he practices today. I don't think he's going to. And even if he does in a limited fashion, I'm not playing him. We saw, again, just to reiterate, we saw what happened with Devontae Parker and Mike Evans last week. It hurt you.
Yeah, I mean, and they are playing the Packers this week, which isn't an easy secondary to go against. So even if he is coming back in a limited fashion, you're not going to be wanting to rely on him.
Not at all. Not at all. Hopefully next week. Hopefully week 3 he will be back. But as of now,
he needs to come back. You've put a lot of stock into him. You've put a lot of good words. So as soon as he does come back, you can start living up to all that talk you've been putting in, so he can show what he can do.
Exactly.
So we need him to come back fully healthy.
Definitely, because
absolutely,
I don't want this injury to linger. Not at all. So Jamison Crowder, he did not practice yesterday and could miss with a hamstring injury and could miss the game this week. I know he got a ton of targets last week. I don't know if I'd play him anyway. If you have a better flex option, do it, especially with this injury designation against the 49ers. I don't like that matchup. That pass rush for the Niners is just so good, and the Jets offensive line is just so bad. Just a mixture of failure, it seems.
I mean, realistically, if it wasn't for the injury designation and the fact that he's been missing practice, I personally would still be playing him this week. We did just talk about how their secondary is a little depleted due to injuries with the 49ers. But
what is he going to have? Is Sam Darnold going to have the time back there?
It's fairly possible. I mean, maybe. I mean, Jamison Crowder was doing really well in the underneath routes last week anyways, and he was getting a lot of them. And so if that is the problem and he's getting too much pressure without, a stud back, I mean, they got Frank Gore back there, you're going to be finding those. I mean, this would probably be a great game to play Jamison Crowder, meaning that I would think that if he's healthy, he'd be getting a handful of targets.
Did you see that Javon Kinlaw tape from last week?
No.
The rookie? Oh, my gosh. Monster. Another monster. They added another monster to their line. It's ridiculous. And one more thing. It's not on your notes, but Chris Godwin, he is in the concussion protocol still. It's looking like he's not going to play. Play Mike Evans, play Mike Evans, play Mike Evans.
And Scotty Miller.
And O.J. Howard. I like him as a streaming tight end this week. So that is the news for today. Wanted to just get you caught up. We will be, sharing kind of like we did last weekend. We'll be sharing any news that we see between now and Sunday on our Instagram and Twitter. We will also be doing a live stream, or I will be doing a live stream Sunday from 12 to kickoff to update you on who's in, who's out, and then answer your start-sit questions, trade questions, hair questions, beer questions, style questions. Any question you want to ask me, just ask it.
You guys want to know his personal life? I'm sure he'll divulge anything you guys really want to know about him.
And it's not that interesting, but
you'd be surprised.
Yeah. So, but anyways, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, that is it for the news around the league and injury updates. Let's move on to our Thursday night recap. The Browns, they did it. They got their first win of 2020, and they looked pretty good doing it. Now, I know it was the Bengals, the Bungles, whatever you want to call them. So you're kind of expecting it and hoping for it, but they did beat the Bengals 35-30.
Yeah, I mean, Baker gets to live and see another week, and before I completely write him off, he didn't do amazing. He didn't do his rookie season Baker self, but he looked better than he did last year. Based off of this game, at least, and just in this little small fashion, I think he actually looked decent, minus a handful of throws. I mean,
that interception was pretty rough.
Like you pointed out, the interception is absolutely terrible. So hopefully you can see him going on this path of getting his stuff together. Do love the fact that they have such a strong run game, though, because I do think it gives him a lot of opportunity when they have that threat of that two insanely talented running backs. So hopefully that'll keep continuing to go on. I mean, we did just see them both score 3 touchdowns between the two of them.
Yeah. No, they scored 4 touchdowns between the two of them.
4.
Yeah, 4 touchdowns between the two running backs. Kareem Hunt had 1 rushing, 1 passing, and Nick Chubb had 2 rushing. So, like we said, Kareem Hunt did it. It took a little bit. Nick Chubb, they fed him the ball at the very beginning, and I think this is kind of what we're going to see from now on. Nick Chubb's going to get the bulk of the work in the first half, potentially, because Kareem did only have 2 touches in the first half. I believe it was 1 catch, and that was actually for a touchdown and 1 rushing attempt. So got a little nerve-wracking there, but he did get that touchdown. And then in the second half, he balled. He put up numbers. So like you said, Baker looked pretty good. Odell Beckham looked like himself. 4 catches for 76 yards and a touchdown. Had a long 43-yard touchdown, I believe is what it was, which was nice to see him get in the end zone. Jarvis Landry, we talked about it yesterday. After that hip injury, we didn't want to play him. I hope you didn't. He only, in a half PPR league, only put up 6 points, and you don't want that, especially going into, the weekend.
No, but it is nice to see that even when he comes off of that injury designation, he's still going 3 for 3 and getting those yards. So when he's healthy and full go, he got 46 yards on 3 catches. So when he's full go and they're playing against a weak defense and he's healthy, might be continue to be a solid flex play, especially if OBJ goes down.
Oh yeah, he will be a solid flex play in the future. I just coming off that injury.
Yeah, it was a bad time to play him.
And yeah, short week, stuff like that. I didn't like it this week. And then that's about it. Austin Hooper didn't do much. He only had 4 targets, 2 receptions, and 22 yards. So wasn't great. And if you're in a kicker league, Cody Parkey did hit 5 of his extra points.
Nice to hear it.
Yeah, great. Congratulations. But Joe Burrow, kind of surprising.
Joe Burrow
looked good.
Did really well. I know I'm someone who said that he was going to be a bust and be good but not great, but he did pretty good in his second NFL game. He threw the ball 61 times.
Woo!
Which is absolutely insane while still letting his running backs carry the ball 17 times. He did seem to have a nice little love for his tight ends, regardless of who they were. He doesn't seem to really enjoy those small little dump passes in that 5 to 15-yard range. Likes to throw the ball deep sometimes. Still hasn't figured out how to do it too well, especially with having A.J. Green there. He got
13 targets.
13 targets, only able to come down with 3 of them. I do know a couple of those were in the end zone, having an opportunity to score a touchdown on a play just before Tyler Boyd scored his touchdown, which would have really saved A.J. Green's day, or coming down with any of those targets that he dropped or let go.
It's good to see that he's getting those targets and he's not hurt yet, which is nice. So I do think they have a chemistry, and you can tell. I do think that Joe was kind of hyper-targeting him there for a while. You could see at the especially, in the end of the third, beginning of the fourth quarter when he was really targeting AJ. He was double-teamed a ton, whether it was a safety and a DB or whatnot. But you could see that they knew where Joe was going. So, but I do like that there's a connection there. You can tell. Now it's just, is that connection going to click? And if it does, A.J. Green could really be a fantasy asset.
Yeah, if he can start connecting on these deep balls or even just connecting a little more accurately. Last week he did go 9 for 5, which is a lot more respectable than it was 13 for 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're going to hopefully see even just a little bit more of what you saw last week percentage-wise. If you can get that catch percentage up, A.J. Green's going to be a huge threat, especially because he looks at him in the end zone, in the red zone.
Mm-hmm. But overall, pretty good there. Tyler Boyd had a good day, 7 for 8, 72 yards and a touchdown. So solid fantasy finish. And then Mike Thomas, not Michael Thomas, but Mike Thomas.
Reincarnation. The man's down, so he's like, you know what? I'm just going to take over this guy for the night.
Yep. And, got a touchdown, which helped him. 4 for 4, 31 yards. Not too shabby for a third-string, fourth-string wide receiver.
No, he's actually listed as like the...
I think he's 4th. He's behind T.
Yeah, he's down there.
Because Auden Tate was a healthy scratch tonight.
Yeah, because John Ross is their wide receiver 3, at least listed, but you only saw him get, I believe, 2 targets this week. So I think Mike Thomas is someone who could have a good little uptick, maybe.
I think it was just a flash in the pan for me. What I did like seeing was T. Higgins getting 6 targets.
That's true as well.
That was nice. He caught 3 of them for 35 yards. So solid for the rookie. Like to see him get involved. But I guess the biggest disappointment tonight was Joe Mixon. 16 carries, 46 yards, 4 receptions for 40 yards, which is solid. But didn't get in the end zone. I mean, and Gio Bernard, he got a couple goal line carries, which I did not like at all.
Something else I really didn't like was watching that game, that last drive of the game where they were pushing to score, and Gio was in the entire time, meaning that he's the go-to pass blocking back for them because their whole plan was to move the ball down the field and throw passes. They had no intentions of running the ball at that point. So, I mean, Joe Mixon ran for 2.8 today. I don't think that's too good. He didn't have a great showing.
I know that's not good.
That is not good at all. He didn't have a good showing last week. I just think that offensive line was just getting destroyed again this week and unable to protect him at all and give him opportunities to get downfield. They do not really have much help up there, and that's something that is really holding this team back fantasy-wise at all.
Yeah, definitely. Not looking good. I think Joe will get it together, but really it starts with that offensive line being able to block and open up those holes for him. I did like seeing him get 40 yards passing, though. That was nice. But before we leave this Thursday night recap, John, you thought you were gonna get away with it.
Oh, we're good.
Yeah, we did have
1-1.
Yeah, we are 1-1. We did have a little bet, wheel of failure bet. Best 2 players. We both picked Kareem Hunt, and then he picked AJ Green, and I picked Odell Beckham. So it was really AJ Green versus Odell Beckham, and Odell Beckham had a better night at least than AJ Green. So, John, we're 1-1. Feels good. I'm back. I'm tied. I feel better. I feel better now.
Do you? I mean, you were real quiet. You were real quiet when it was the 1-0. So just glad you got that, so we can talk a little bit more when it comes up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nice.
We'll have to come up with something else today.
Oh, definitely. Well, we can.
I'm sure we'll have a conversation pop up.
Definitely. I guarantee it. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is our Thursday night recap. Now let's get into our must starts of the week. These guys are going to win you your weeks. Really,
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people last week who just based off of late injury news or interesting injury news or environmental news as far as the Raheem Mostert situation last week, that you could have picked up either off waivers in shallow leagues or could have made a quick trade push for, or possibly someone who was sitting on your bench. Raheem Mostert went from someone who was possibly flexible for a lot of people to an automatic must start last week. So I think that this week he's someone you're going to want to start again. He's going against possibly the worst defense in the NFL, so he should continue to see productive and efficient running. The 49ers offensive line is just obviously just so absolutely amazing that he's able to do and a lot of work. You do have that pass catching upside. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to break away for another huge run, a huge passing touchdown, but he will see consistent work, and he will be able to produce amazingly for you, I think. Should be expecting about 15 points, I believe, to the 20.5-point PPR. I think he's going to have another great day. Possibly not seeing as many touchdown possibilities, but still should be able to get slightly close to that total offensive yards that he got last week.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that 76-yard touchdown definitely helped him. But, I mean, overall, he was getting the touches. He was getting the receptions outside of that. And he's known for that big playability. So, especially against this defense, I agree. Raheem Mostert is a must-start this week. So, moving on. I've got Marquise Brown playing against the Texans. You saw during the Texans-Chiefs game, they did what they could to slow down Tyreek Hill. They allowed, but when in doing so, they played deeper. They had their safeties deeper. They didn't want them to get behind the defense. for those long plays. And they did get behind him twice. I believe it was, DeMarcus Robinson both times. One was caught for a touchdown, one was dropped in the end zone. The touchdown was actually called back. But after that, you could kind of see they did not let them get over top. Tyreek Hill's touchdown was, I believe, a 25-yarder or so. So it wasn't too much of a deep play. It might not have even been that. It might have even been in the red zone. So they really played that deep ball, and it hurt them with Clyde Edwards there. He ran for 113 yards. The whole Chiefs as a whole ran for 160 yards. And I think this week when they're playing Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, they're going to have to play that run a little heavier, which is going to open up Marquise Brown up top, and hit on one of those deep plays. He hit on one last week. He put up over 100 yards last week, and I think he's in for another great day. And he he tied the team target lead with Mark Andrews, so he's still their number one now. Wide receiver. Now, he didn't play as many snaps as Miles Boykin or Willie Snead, but he's still getting those targets, getting more targets when he's on the field, and that's what I like to see. So I definitely think that Marquise Brown is in for a big week.
Yeah, he was a little disappointing last week. Some people had him really high, but I do think you're right. I do think he's somebody you're definitely going to play this week. My only concern is you mentioned that the Texans defense last week did play a little bit back due to them playing Kansas City and fearing that deep ball. The Ravens' main key and main thing is speed, and I think that maybe not as extreme as they were doing last week. I do think you're going to see something similar to that, where they are going to be trying to alleviate that deep ball while also trying to watch that quarterback run, which they're probably not going to be able to do effectively, and by halftime are going to be scrambling to get a whole new defensive concept together, which is why I do think that he's a huge play, because I think at least by the end of the game, he's going to be getting a handful of targets from Lamar, as well as a few red zone opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. So I love Marquise this week. I think that this game is going to be very one-sided in my opinion. I think it's I don't like the Texans this week against them. I think that we saw what the Ravens did last week to the Browns, and it wasn't pretty. But Marquise Brown, start him.
So going over to a receiver, we are going to be, or one of my receivers, we've got Darius Slayton. Obviously finishing last week in a PPR league as wide receiver 5. You're going to be looking to him to more than likely play again. But he did prove himself to continue to be a reliable target for Daniel Jones. Last year, you saw them have a really great connection, and it seems to have carried through. He did score 2 touchdowns and was able to break that 100 receiving yards mark, which is great in any sort of standard or PPR league. But was able to get an average target distance of 11.6 while getting 9 targets, catching 6 of them, and one of those being a deep touchdown pass that just looked absolutely great. He did seem to be very effective at getting open downfield while also being able to create space once making his first cut. I think he's going to be an absolutely talented receiver. And this week he's going up against the Bears defense. So last week they gave up 288 passing yards, which is the 6th most. And that was playing against the Lions, who didn't even have Galladay playing for them. So I think Slayton should continue to find himself open regularly this week, and I think him and Daniel Jones, which would be Eli Jr., are going to ball out this week. And I think even if he doesn't see 2 touchdowns, he's going to be someone who's going to be able to put up a great amount of yards for you and get opportunities, get the ball in his hand. Yeah,
I love Darius Slayton year long. I love him this week. I know everybody's a little worried about that offensive line against that defensive line with Khalil Mack there, but I do think that they'll be able to get Darius Slayton the ball. Daniel Jones, he was under pressure last week.
I was going to say they just came off of playing the Steelers and were able to be extremely effective.
And so I mean, he had a similar, if not, I mean, a better overall defense, a similar pass rush. And he was able to get Darius Slayton the ball. So I like Darius Slayton. He's since the beginning of draft season, he's been one of my go-to late round guys. So I love him this year, and I love him this week.
Early question: is he a weekly start for you?
I got to see what he does this week. If he can put up solid flex numbers or even wide receiver 2 numbers, then yes, I believe he will jump in. Sterling Shepard didn't do much. I don't like Evan Ingram this week against that linebacking core there.
No, they really talked about getting Evan Ingram the ball a lot this offseason and talking about him breaking that 1,000-yard mark, no problem. But then you did see them put him on the trading block during the draft. So I think Slayton's going to be their go-to offensive weapon this year besides Saquon.
Definitely. Yeah, he will be that team's – I mean, I've said it in the offseason. He will be that team's number one or has a very, very high chance of being that wide receiver 1 there.
Do you think Golden Tate coming back at all is going to affect him? He's not coming back this week, but when he does come back, not at all?
No, I think it'll more – because really I think it's going to more affect Sterling Shepard getting on the field. Just because Darius Slayton's producing right now, and they're going to want their highest producing receivers on the field. And I think with a Darius Slayton and a Golden Tate who can run underneath and catch those slant routes, kind of a playmaker, get the ball in his hands. With Darius Slayton's ability to catch the ball downfield and run those longer routes, I think it's a great match for them. And I think Sterling Shepard's going to slip to that wide receiver 3 on that team. So I don't think that it will really affect Slayton too much. But play him. Great start this week. Moving on to my next start of the week, that is Emmanuel Sanders. He's playing in Las Vegas against the Raiders. Obviously, Michael Thomas is out, most likely. I know Michael Thomas keeps saying he wants to play and yada, 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 but even if he does play, he's going to be a decoy. I don't see it happening. But last week, the Panthers receivers with Teddy Bridgewater put up 211 yards against the Raiders. They don't have a great pass defense at all. They're actually looking for a pass rusher. I know they used to have one in Khalil Mack, but they got rid of him, unfortunately, for 2 draft picks, nice. 2 first rounds, nice. But now they're very needy at that position and getting pressure on the quarterback. And the Saints have a solid offensive line. So I think they won't get the pressure on Drew Brees that they need to. And last year, even Sanders showed that he can be a wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 from time to time. Last year, he finished as a wide receiver 1 3 times and then wide receiver 2 twice. And that was with 2 different teams. So I think that he's really going to benefit from Michael Thomas being out. I think a lot of people are going to benefit in that offense, but he is one of them, and I think he's going to step up as that wide receiver 1 on that team. And then also Damon Arnett. He allowed a perfect quarterback passer rating last week against Teddy Bridgewater every time when he was targeted. So that secondary is not great. And I think Emmanuel Sanders is going to be the beneficiary to that. So Traquan Smith also going to benefit. Jared Cook as well. Alvin
Kamara a little bit as well. Just targets all around. I mean, when you have someone who's commanding 12 to up to 16 targets a game, you're talking about a big share to be distributed, and you should see it going all the way around. So I like the upside of Traquan finally this year, hopefully. But there's been a big hope for a while for him. So on to my guy. We're talking about someone a lot of people might not agree with, but I think Ronald Jones is a must start this week. And
hot take.
And I do think that he's in for a great week with this Bucs offense going against the Carolina Panthers. Carolina gave up 133 rushing yards last week. With Ronald Jones getting a healthy workload, you should count on him being even more productive than he was going against the Saints. So he did get 17 carries last week, going for 3.9 a carry. Only got 3 targets for 2 receptions. Never found the end zone. Did get some red zone carries. With Leonard Fournette being there, and they brought in Shady McCoy, a lot of people were concerned about the carry splits and what would be going on there. Ronald Jones ended up getting 33 carries, or 33% of the team snaps as a running back, while LaShawn McCoy got 25. But you did see that Ronald Jones was in the backfield position 81% of the time. So I do think that they are going to stick with that hand. He did produce fairly well. 3.9's not a super sexy number, but it's just below something to where I would consider doing pretty decent. So I do think that going against a much weaker defense in Carolina, especially with the loss of Luke Kuechly in the offseason, and not many huge additions in that linebacker core since then, I do think that Ronald Jones is going to be able to get as many carries as he did last week, but more productive carries and a more well-oiled offense. Chris Godwin being gone, they did talk about how they're going to be restructuring the offense without Chris Godwin being there and having a new game plan involving the players that are going to be there. So I do think that Ronald Jones will be getting more pass-catching work than he did last week as well, and I hope that Brady can be a little more, a little more happy to my guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I do think he's someone who's going to be giving a lot of points to you guys, and definitely someone you're going to want to make sure you put in your rosters if you have them.
Yeah, this week I would agree with that. I think that's really the Buccaneers are a great play this week. So I would agree. Ronald Jones, he looked good running the ball. He didn't go down easily, which was nice. He did, wasn't the greatest yards per carry, but when you watch the tape, sometimes the yards per carry doesn't really tell the whole story. So watching the tape, it was really nice to see the way he was running. I felt like that was the first time he's really ran that hard. And maybe that's because Fournette's behind him and he knows, he doesn't have Peyton Barber sitting back there. He's got a Pro Bowler. So definitely a solid play this week. I do like that pick, John. So moving on, Jonathan Taylor must start this week versus the Vikings. I love it. With Marlon Mack out, he's going to be getting, I believe, about 15 to 20 carries in this offense. And not only that, and we saw it when he was in college, he set a ton of records at Wisconsin. So we know he's a solid runner. But last week to see that he got 6 targets and caught all of them was great. You have Phillip Rivers there who, turned Austin Eckler into this fantasy stud. And I don't think he's going to get those all the targets in the backfield because Nyheim Hines is there, and I think he's going to produce a solid week as well. I think it's going to be, they're both going to be solid plays this week. But Jonathan Taylor, I think, is going to get the bulk of the carries, and then you sprinkle in some of that pass catching work against the Vikings. I really like him this week. I think this is really where he takes that next step, and he's got RB1 upside, and I think he's going to be a great option this week.
No, I absolutely would have to agree. He's extremely talented, which is why they spent the draft pick on him. Without Marlon Mack there, you're going to be getting he is going to be the primary 1 and 2 down back, with Nyheim Hines being that optional 3 down. You are right. I am personally surprised that he did get those 6 targets last week. That is, like a fifth of what he got throughout his senior year in college. So I'm happy for him. We all know that Phillip Rivers was able to keep Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler both fantasy relevant in the pass catching game, especially in PPR leagues when they were both there. So I think that offense is going to be taking a little bit from him. And Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor are both going to find themselves to be pass-catching backs now, as well as Jonathan Taylor's pure rusher abilities. So I think Jonathan Taylor's more of a year-round play than Ronald Jones is going to be. But this week I'm must starting Ronald Jones. But I do really love Jonathan Taylor. I'd be happy with both of them.
And that's why Jonathan Taylor's my must start. So love him this week. John, you want to jump to your last must start of the week?
Yeah, so if you guys are looking for a tight end, I am going to recommend you guys Logan Thomas. You finished last week with the second most targets as a tight end, also being able to find the end zone. Targeted 8 times, got 1 deep target as well as an end zone reception. Going up against the Arizona Cardinals, who was unable to stop George Kittle before he went down for his injury and left the game.
Sad.
And then was also unable to stop the rest of the 49ers tight ends when they wanted to get the ball. PFF does rank Arizona as the second best tight end matchup. So I do think Logan Thomas is in for a huge week. I think Dwayne Haskins is someone that, kind of like how I felt Burrow after his first game, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't amazing. It didn't tilt me off them, and it didn't turn me on to him. So I think you're going to be getting a little bit more of the same from him, and I like the fact that Logan Thomas is someone that received 26.7% of the team's receiving targets. They aren't super heavy on their receiving options there. So I like the fact that there is some confidence in him. He did only catch 50% of his passes last week, and so if you can get that up just a little bit, you're talking about someone who can go from barely a playable tight end to someone who confidently can play this week. And with Arizona being the matchup, this is a week to test him out and play him if you're going to be playing him at all.
Yeah, Arizona, I mean, I don't know if you remember last year, anytime any team played Arizona, it was like, all right, I don't care if it's Jeremy Sprinkle, I'm going to grab him, I'm going to put him in my lineup, because Arizona was terrible last year against tight ends, and I know they added Isaiah Simmons there in the linebacking core, who's a stud, but he is a rookie. There is going to be rookie mistakes. So, I mean, I'm not on the Logan Thomas train, but I am on the play tight end against the Arizona train. So,
okay, so you'd start Logan Thomas this week?
Depending on my situation. I kind of like O.J. Howard a little more, and I know he's on the waiver in most leagues, but I mean, it's not a bad pick. I mean, like I said, Arizona against the tight end, I think it's a solid play. You know, they didn't show anything last week to really show otherwise. So
my only problem with O.J. Howard is it's not just him there. He's not the only tight end. He did obviously get a 3 times as many targets as Gronkowski did, but that was Gronk's first game back since the offseason, or since his year off. I don't know if that's going to be consistent share or work percentage. So I don't trust O.J. Howard right now, especially when everyone's grabbing him off waivers.
I know what you're doing here.
I'm actually not trying to do this, but let me finish my thought really quick. I don't like him as much because even though he's touchdown dependent the same way Logan Thomas is, there's another tight end who can catch that touchdown.
So are we doing a wheel of failure here? Logan Thomas versus O.J. Howard?
Oof. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. There it is.
Take it.
Boom. Half point. And just so probably make this clear to you too, whenever we make a bet, unless it's otherwise stated, you just want to do half point?
Yeah, a half point PPR is the standard.
Boom.
Standard measurements where we do all our rankings out of and give you all of our main stats out of.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, I'm glad we got one done. Wheel of failure. Now I just got to put the damn wheel up, so I have it. I just got to bring it in.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah, I have one at the office.
Oh.
So. But there's this other cool one on Amazon. It's all black and red. It looks kind of scary, so I think I might order that. So, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, my last must start of the week is Zach Moss at Miami. I'll get into this real quick. Miami gave up 217 rushing yards to the Patriots. Really bad. And Zach Moss had 9 total red zone targets, or touches. So I think he scored a touchdown last week. He's got high upside there. He didn't put up the best yards per carry, but I think they're going to get him involved in that offense a little bit more, and he's got the touchdown upside, and he's playing the Dolphins. The Bills always kick the Dolphins' butt, especially in Miami. So Zach Moss, start him.
Yeah, just to point out, those yards per carry, that number's so low. I mean, they ran him 4 times back-to-back from the 3 to the 2 to the 3. He did get in the end zone another time, but the play was called back. So, again, love it. Really like Zach Moss this week. I definitely would start him over Devin Singletary. There's definitely a must-start going against someone who showed to have a really weak ability to stop the run when playing against the Patriots last week. So, definitely must start Zach Moss, jumping on that train with you there.
Choo choo.
Now, hopefully you can jump on this train with me. Someone that's definitely going to be a must-sit for me, going up against the Texans defense, or the Ravens defense, Will Fuller. Even though Brandon Cooks is going to be out going to be limited in practice for the rest of the week, possibly.
Don't look at me because I agree. Tell them. Look at the camera. Tell them.
And I know we've talked multiple times about Will Fuller. When he's healthy, you play him. But when you're playing the Baltimore defense, you look at your receivers, and if they're not elite, you don't play them. As much upside as he might have, the Texans' offensive line was so disgustingly terrible last week. Now they're going to be going up against someone that's going to be just as threatening, and I think that you're going to be seeing Deshaun Watson running for his life almost the entire game. And with Will Fuller's main ability being a deep threat receiver, he's not going to be able to outspeed the rest of the team, and he's not going to have enough time to get deep before Deshaun has to either run with the ball or take a sack.
Yep.
So Will Fuller's going to be a must-sit for me, but if he's healthy and makes it through the game without breaking a leg, we're playing in week 3.
We are. I 100% agree there. I mentioned it yesterday. I don't even like Deshaun Watson this week. I was going to make him a must-sit, but you spent such high draft capital on him. I feel like you're kind of obligated to. And he is a playmaker, so he could get in the end zone. He does have that rushing ability, so I didn't make him a must-sit, but I am definitely fading him if possible. Will Fuller, 100% agree. Pretty much that entire offense, because, John, I'm going to get into mine, and it's David Johnson.
Your favorite running back of the year.
My least favorite running back of the year. I don't think I have to say much. The offensive line's terrible. He had one good game last week against a Chiefs defense who is not as good as the Ravens defense. To be honest, I don't think that the Chiefs or the Texans are really ready to get into a shootout. Now, they did allow Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, who I believe are much better backs than David Johnson. They allowed them to combine for 137 yards rushing last week. So not too shabby, but I don't think that David Johnson's going to repeat. And I don't like him this week. So must sit for me.
I'm not going to jump on that train with you. I don't think he's a must start, but I do think that he's someone you're going to want to play this week just because he's going to be getting, in my opinion, a lot of garbage time. And that's going to be the end of it. He's going to be getting a lot of garbage time points. You're not going to be getting the same production you did last week, but he's someone that can fill a flex spot pretty confidently. I think he does have a moderate floor, but with barely any ceiling this week.
Yeah, and another thing, I think that they're going to be playing from behind in this game, so they're going to be passing the ball a ton, and he is a good pass catching back, so he could get into that groove, but I just don't see him. I mean, he only had 11 attempts when last week when Duke Johnson was there, but he did have a rushing touchdown. I don't see him getting a rushing touchdown this week, but he may be involved in the passing game a little bit, which could help him, but I'm just not taking that risk, and I'm going to put him on my bench. Okay. Actually, I'm not going to put him on my bench because I don't have him, but if I did have him, I'd put him on my bench.
So someone I would definitely start David Johnson over this week would be James Conner. Even though he's coming back from an injury designation, that's actually the main point that's hurting him. I just don't think that even if he comes back in a full fashion and ready to go, he's going to be able to play the entire game. I don't trust him to be playing. I don't trust him going up. Benny Snell just came off of over a 100-yard game. I think he showed that he's an extremely efficient runner. He made a name for himself there. And
he's got a cool mouth guard.
And I don't think you can just drop the hot hand like that. It just seems like anytime a Steelers running back steps away from the main lineup, someone else right behind them is ready to go. And it's just because their offensive line is just so good.
Always is.
So I think they're going to ride the hot hand a little bit. Connor's going to be getting work if he plays, but I don't see it being enough of a workload to make him startable, especially in a fantasy fashion.
Yep, I agree. I mean, even take away Benny Snell, take away anything. Really, his injury for me is it. I'm not going to play him this week, even if nobody was behind him, because I just don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's going to play. But especially with Benny Snell there's really no point for them to even put him out on the field, because Benny Snell is a solid back, and he showed that last week. So my second must sit is Teddy Bridgewater. He's playing at the Buccaneers. Bucs defense held Drew Brees in check. Only 198 passing yards, which typically, Drew, you're expecting, 250, high twos, low threes, up to 500. Who knows? But not under 200. I mean, that's pretty shocking. The Bucs do have a really solid defense, and he only had 2 red zone attempts last week, so he's not gonna. They don't throw the ball much in the red zone, especially with Christian McCaffrey there. There's no really reason to. So I think that they're going to use Christian a ton in this game, but I also don't think that he's really ready for a Bucs defense like this. So.
No, I'd have to agree with you right there. I am starting Teddy just out of necessity in one of my leagues, and that's just out of necessity.
Isn't it a 2-quarterback league?
It's a 2-quarterback league. Absolutely, sorry everyone. It's a 2-quarterback league, and the waivers are the waivers are already down to like second string quarterback, so he has to get that play. But like you're saying, the Bucs D did look really scary. So I'm gonna have to agree with you there.
Thanks.
Another quarterback you're not gonna want to be playing this week. Hopefully you didn't play him last week. That's gonna be Carson Wentz.
Sorry.
He did start the week last week playing fairly well.
Did ball out for the first half.
I remember sitting there at the bar next to Mike, and he looked over at me and says, "Carson Wentz is balling." And then a few minutes later, he comes back and he's saying, "I shouldn't have."
I need a fart noise.
So it is kind of scary seeing them this week. Last weekend, their offensive line looked absolutely terrible. Now they're going to be going against possibly one of the best defensive lines in the league.
They are getting Lane Johnson back, which is
They
nice.
do have Lane Johnson back, but I don't think Lane Johnson is enough to stop Aaron Donald.
No.
And it's basically like they don't have an offensive line other than that.
Aaron Donald couldn't stop Aaron Donald. It's like Dwight versus Dwight. The fight scene.
I'm curious. We'd have to see that. So until that line can hold a block, isn't going against someone who's possibly one of the best players in the NFL, depending on who you're asking.
No,
and the receivers in there that can actually get healthy, there's no reason you're going to want to roll with Carson Wentz. He does have an injury risk. There's just not the week to be playing him. He didn't do it last week. Playing against a defense that's going to be pressuring him so much is just going to lead him for opportunities to make mistakes, throw interceptions, or fumble the ball again. He did it last week during Washington. Even if he gets it together a little bit, it's definitely not someone you're going to want to be playing. There are definitely better stream options available. Even I would play Gardner Minshew over Carson Wentz this week.
Yeah, I would have to agree there. I don't like Carson Wentz at all this week whatsoever. Point blank. Period. So moving on to my last must sit, that is DK Metcalf. As surprising as that is, they're playing the Patriots, which is a much better defense or much better secondary than the Atlanta Falcons. DK obviously he had that 38-yard touchdown, which was nice. He had some separation. However, he still only averaged 1.94 yards of separation last week, which was the 34th best. Not great. So I think with this secondary, these cornerbacks from Stephon Gilmore and all of his cohorts, he's not going to be able to get away from him. He could burn them. He has the speed. If he's running in a straight line, he could have that big play. We were actually asked on Twitter a couple times, who would you start between pick 2, Emmanuel Sanders, DK Metcalf, or Joe Mixon? And we agreed. We said Emmanuel Sanders and DK. Just because DK has an upside. However, between Emmanuel Sanders and DK, I'm taking Emmanuel Sanders.
I'm taking Emmanuel Sanders this week.
So DK Metcalf this week for me is a must sit. I just don't think he's going. I think he's going to be hounded all day by these cornerbacks, and I don't think it's going to be pretty for him. So,
yeah, I would try to stay away from him unless it's a huge necessity. You did spend high capital on him at this point, but it's going to be a rough week. Yeah,
definitely. So, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, those are our must starts and our must sits for week 2 of the NFL season. So, before we let you guys go, let's get into our beer of the day. So, like I said at the beginning, we are drinking the Miami Pale Ale by Biscayne Bay Brewing Company out of Miami, Florida. They were founded in 2012, and they opened their first store in 2014, and they have patrons at over 250 locations in South Florida. So if you're not in South Florida, it's probably going to be a little difficult to get this beer. However, if you are, check out, where did we pick this one up from? ABC Liquor?
I got this from Publix.
Publix. Your neighborhood-friendly supermarket, I think. Something
They
like
have
that.
really great subs.
Beautiful subs. It's amazing. So it is like I said, they were founded in 2012, started in 2014. If you go to their website, BiscayneBayBrewing.com, you can click the Find a Store button, and you can find a store that sells the beer and whatnot. You can also find their tap room, which is located down in Miami and downtown. They do have a downtown Miami tap room coming soon, according to their website. But check it out. Like I said, BiscayneBayBrewing.com. You can check out where their tap room is located if you're in the Miami area, and also find out where you can get this beer. The bottle is pretty dope. It's a white label, black and gold lettering, and it also has like an Indian headdress there, I believe. So I mean, pretty cool bottle. Nice, and it's kind of like it's sleek. It's classy.
It's classy. Yeah, the gold lettering just really makes the whole thing pop, and the Indian headdress just makes it all, cultural.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Gotta really enjoy it. Now, it is a really good pale ale. I did enjoy it. It, like you mentioned earlier, you said it does have some bitterness, but I think that's just really the hop flavor coming through. It never really does bite on the tongue, which I think is really nice from it. It is close to an IPA's IBU. It does come in at a 5.5 ABV as well as a 55 IBU.
Oh, so
some batches do go up to 61, but the one we got was a 55. Personally, I smell the aromas as well when you get that smell. Some citrusy,
yeah.
Some grass,
Yeah.
some lemongrass.
Lime. I can smell like a lime or a lemony kind of citrus.
No, I really do enjoy it. And then when you pour it, it does pour a golden light amber. As well as far as the flavor, I got a very, very strong hop flavor as mentioned before, but it does also have like a woody, I get a woody citrus as well as like a grassy flavor.
You get a woody drinking this beer?
I did not say that, but I do really enjoy it. And then it does kind of have like a little spicy aftertone, not like spicy, but kind of more like just like cinnamony spice, just like really mild.
Yeah, you can taste it like the back of your tongue. You can it hits that spice.
So it's a really interesting palate, but I do enjoy it. I like this one a lot, so I'm gonna let you rate this one first.
I'm gonna give it a 6.7. It's it's okay. It's not my favorite pale ale, but it's a decent one. Not great, not bad.
I'm gonna give it a 6.5.
Nice.
Yeah, I think we did pretty good there.
Yeah, very good. Very good, very good, very good. So, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to be on the lookout this weekend for our Kenny Galladay autographed jersey giveaway. Like I said, on Instagram, you can follow us, and Twitter as well. You can follow us, and we will tell you how you can enter for that. Also, 12 o'clock Eastern time, 1 hour before kickoff, I will be here giving you all the injury updates, answering your start-sit questions, any questions you have. I'll be here answering them. John will be on a plane. And it's going to be a great football season or football day. It's going to be a great day for football.
Sunday is going to be an absolutely wonderful day. I will be checking in. If I'm on my flight at that point, I'll be checking in on Instagram or however you're live just to make sure I'm throwing in my start-sit questions.
You could stream. We could do a double stream.
Can I do it from the airport?
As long as you have Wi-Fi.
On the plane?
Yeah, they sell Wi-Fi on the plane. This is the 20th century, John. Come on now.
Yeah.
Just costs money.
Yeah. So I hope I will have to see you guys next week. No, but thank you guys so much for checking us out again this week. Really appreciate you guys a lot. Again, that Kenny Galladay jersey, It's going to look great on one of your guys' walls or on your guys' eBay page. So thank you guys for checking us out. If you guys want to check us out again, it's at the Fantasy Tap. If you guys want to send us any beer recommendations, football start sit questions before Sunday, or just say hi, you guys miss us and you guys want to know more about us, check us out at thefantasytap@gmail.com. So thank you guys again, and we will have to see you guys on Sunday.
We will see you then. Let's get them dubs week 2, baby. See you guys.